how do you figure out piano chords by ear? Hi everyone, my name is April. I'm from Piano Lessons Info in the Piano Chords Club, and this is a really great question because some people learn by listening and some people learn by reading. Okay, so different people learn different ways, but if you're someone who wants to learn chords or has learned chords by reading the symbols, it can be a bit of a mystery as to how someone has learned to play chords by ear. So we will go over the process of how to do this in this video. So there's a few things that you need to know in order to do this. The first thing is you need to be able to find a starting note. So if we're not looking at the keys and you just hear me play, you need to be able to pick a note out from that to be able to hear and replicate. Okay, so if I play that chord again without, I'm not showing you the video, the piano. One great thing you need to pick out from that is the root note. Okay, so for this example, it's that note. Okay, so we'll go over this more in a minute. The next thing that you need to know is the type of chord, because there's lots of different types of chords. So this is something you can train your ear to hear, but that's what you need to know. If you know that was one of the notes from the chord, then you need to know what are the other notes. So those are the notes from that chord, so it's easy for me because I played it. I know exactly what it is, but we'll go over that more in a minute as well. And the other thing you need to know how to do is to hear when chords change. Okay, so if you're listening to something, you need to be able to hear the change in chords so that you know when to change what you're playing as well. Okay, so for some of you that might seem like, okay, I think I can do this. For others of you, you might be like, that seems really hard. And this is something that takes practice and time. So you just move up little step by little step to figure out the next bit. We will start with that starting note. And I should also point out that understanding keys is really useful here, because sometimes there will be black notes, sometimes there won't be. So if you can understand keys and key signatures, that's really helpful, because then once you can figure out your first chord, it can help you to figure out what the others might be too. Okay, so let's go through the process of figuring out chords by ear. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is listen. All right, so I'm going to play a chord progression. Okay, so we want to figure out the 4 chords from this chord progression. Okay, so the first thing we can do is take the first chord and we want to find the root note. If we can find the root note, then we know what some possible names of the chord could be. Okay, the root note is the bass, the root, the note that we build everything else off of. Okay, so for this one, if you listen, there's one note that maybe stands out a bit more, and often it's in the bass. So that's my trick anyway. Okay, so one of the notes we've picked out here is G. Okay, so let me backtrack for a minute here, because one of the things that I do if we're playing something is if I can find just one note, then I'll play around and then just see, okay, see what key I might be in. So when I play G, that's one of the notes from the chord, okay? Now when I play that note, it doesn't seem right. That note seemed right. Okay, so we're in the key of G because we need to play that F sharp, but we don't need to play any other sharps. So 1 sharp is the key of G. Okay, this is why keys are very helpful to know. Okay, so we've got our key, G. That means there could be F sharps in other chords. And we've got our first starting note here. So let's see if the G chord works. Okay, so that's the right chord. So that is your first step, listening, working out the root note, building the chord from that root note, and then comparing it to what's played. So if you're listening to something, try to figure out that first chord. If it works, good, you're on the right track. You can even, while someone's playing, you can try playing other notes in that same key, see if that works. Okay, so we're going to try to figure out the next one. This is the chord progression. So we've got our first chord. It's a major chord, G major. Now let's see if we can figure out the next chord. Okay, that's what it is. If you want, why don't you pause the video, see if you can figure it out. So those are all the notes I'm playing. That's the root note. Root note is D. Okay, so we need to build a chord on that. So we know there's an F sharp in the key signature, so if we play D, we can play F sharp, A, and then we've got our next chord. Okay, so this is one way you can go kind of step by step and go through and try to figure out the chords, because then you go to the next chord, you've got this one, and then that one. Okay, so that's your chord progression that you can try to work out. I'll tell you at the very end of the video what it is if you want to try to work out the next two on your own and see how it works. This is something that really, like, people think, oh, someone's just naturally gifted in this kind of thing. And I think it's kind of like learning language. People learn by hearing and then doing. Like, it's kind of like speaking it onto the keys. So it's something that takes practice. You know, you don't just wake up speaking a new language. You need to practice. And this is kind of what playing by ear with chords is. So if you can just listen to a 4-note song, a 4-chord song. So you just look up a list of 4-chord songs and listen to it, because then you know you only have 4 chords to work with. There's huge lists out there. You might see it as like a 1, 4, 5, 6 song, because that's referring to chords built on scales, on degrees of a scale. Okay, that doesn't really matter, except that's something you can look up to try to work out chords. And the other thing you can also do is start listening to the different sounds of chords, because you want to know, especially in the beginning, is it going to be a major chord or a minor chord? Because they're very close in terms of the notes that you play. So that's one thing to start working on. So the main trick in playing by ear, learning chords, is finding your place and then figuring out if there's black notes, knowing if you're going to play a major or a minor chord, and then practicing. Okay, so I hope that helps you. I have a whole mini course on playing by ear for chords. That's actually what it's called. Playing by ear for chords. If you want to have a look, it's in the Piano Chords Club. And before I go, I will tell you the chord progression if you want to know right now. That is G, D, E minor, and C. Okay, so give it a try, and let me know how you go too in the comments below. Okay, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.